Are you struggling with starting centers in your classroom? In this video, I'm going to teach you my tried and true methods for successfully implementing centers in your primary classroom. I'm Angela Griffith, and I help teachers just like you create positive learning experiences by bringing you research-based strategies, tips, and fun things to implement in your classroom. Don't forget to subscribe. You can always change your mind later. Go ahead and click the like button and click the bell to get notified anytime I drop new videos. I begin center routines and procedures the very first week of school. Now, my students don't know that this is what they're doing. For a lot of students, this is their first time participating in anything that looks like structured play. So off to the races it is. My routine to implement centers in my classroom has what I like to call 5 levels. So let's start with level 1. Level 1 is just getting them used to the routine. So I like to begin level 1 with tabletop or desktop centers. So what is that? It's anything that you can get your hands on that keeps their attention. This can be Play-Doh, Legos, blocks, math manipulatives, anything that they can manipulate, fine motor activities, whatever you have in your classroom. It's very open-ended. They don't have to be told to play with these things, and it keeps their attention. Before they're off to these activities, I talk about appropriate voice levels, how to use the materials properly, and how to play nicely with their friends, and what happens when there is a conflict. So what am I doing during this time? I'm walking around, I'm modeling, I'm problem solving, and I'm just seeing kind of how quickly they're acclimating to what we're doing. This goes on for about a week and a half to 2 weeks. It always depends on your students. Sometimes the levels go longer, sometimes I'm able to shorten them up. It just really depends on the students. You'll know that it's time to move to level 2 when things begin to move like clockwork. Level 2 is all about academic centers. So this doesn't mean that you put the fun things up, but you may add more letters in, things that you've been reviewing and covering in class. These are still tabletop centers, and there are tons of teachable moments to be had. This is where they really get tired of working in the same center because it's not strictly play. So during this time, I focus on stamina. Okay, you may not like this center. This may not be your favorite center, but what should we be doing in this center? Once they have mastered level 2, it's time to move on to level 3. Now this is when they start moving around. Don't freak out. We're not rotating centers yet or anything like that. This just simply means that I may send one group to the Pocket Chart Center. I may send one group to the Magnetic Center. Some students are still at their tables, at their desktops, working hard. This gets students used to the idea that, hey, centers will not always be at my desk or my table. They get used to being in different areas of the room. I'm still modeling appropriate voice levels, working with our friends, taking care of materials. I also get to talk about cleaning up those different parts of the room. So if you're at the Magnetic Center, I need you to put all of the letter magnets back in the tub. If you're at the Pocket Chart, I need you to reset the center for the next group that's coming. I know at this point you're ready to start meeting with your students at your small group table, but hold on. Don't go too fast. I know you may think that they're ready, but I promise you they're not. So at level 3, when I start to introduce different centers, I like to start with what I call the Big 4. One is the Pocket Chart, one is the Big Book Station, one is the Magnetic Center, and I like to also include the library. So what I do is we still review our tabletop centers, and then on Monday, I'll introduce the Pocket Chart Center. So I'll just send one group to the Pocket Chart Center. This is a good time to explain to students that sometimes we'll have friends in different areas of the room. Sometimes some friends will be at their desk, and it's okay. Maybe you didn't get to go to Pocket Chart today, but you will get to go one day this week. And so then on Tuesday, I still have some friends at their desk. I have one group at the Pocket Chart, And now I'm going to introduce the magnetic center, and so on and so forth. This way we're slowly dipping our feet in to people being out of their seat, people walking around the room. You can kind of model and correct behaviors that you see as well. If you're getting value out of this, don't forget to hit that like button. Now, let's move on to level 4. So they've gotten used to kind of walking around the room, going to a different space. What's next? At this point, we're anywhere from week 4 to week 6. Like I said earlier, it just depends on my class and how quickly they get it. This is when I start to put up our center rotation chart, and I do not fill it completely in. Now, I like to use an old calendar, and I like this old-timey calendar, as I like to call it, as opposed to the newer calendars, because these are perfect squares. But whatever you choose to use, it does not have to be this calendar. You just need to make sure that it works for you and it works for your students. There is a picture of each center on the calendar. They are already used to these pictures because in phase 3, as they started to go to different areas of the room, these same pictures were at those centers. So the Big Book station has a Big Book sign, the Pocket Chart station has a Pocket Chart sign, and I made sure to point those out to them in level 3. I also put them into different colored groups. So in level 4, they have to get used to finding their name. And for students who still struggle with recognizing their name, they know their color. And then they go and look at the picture that is there. They know that this is the center that they're going to today. We're still only doing one center. We're not rotating. We're not moving. Nothing like that. We're just getting them used to the center rotation chart, finding their name or color, and finding their center. I like to use this time to address running around the classroom, being disappointed with your assigned center, because you know I get that sometimes. I don't want to go to this center. I really want to go to sensory table today, or I want to go to magnets today. How come they get to go to magnets? And you're like, okay. So this is the time to address all of that. Once this is moving like clockwork, it is time for level 5. Now level 5 is the scary part, but it doesn't have to be. Yes, they are going to start rotating, but I still scaffold that activity as well. So I then put another picture. So now they have 2 pictures up. They have their color, their first center, their second center. So they have to get used to, after I clean up one center, now it's time to go to the next center. I have a routine for that as well. I like to use an old-fashioned bell. I ring the bell and they know it's time to clean up. I like to use a call and response from Whole Brain Teaching. It's all set, and if they are ready to go to the next center, they say, "You bet." And I teach them that this doesn't just mean you're ready to go to the next center. This means that your current center is cleaned up all the way. Now you're going to have some students that slap all of their things back in place haphazardly. That's a teachable moment. I like to stop and talk about what's wrong with this center. Did we clean up correctly? And we don't move until it's cleaned up. Alright, so if students need more time to clean up, they say not yet. Then I give them a few more minutes. I ring the bell again, and they know it's time to rotate to the next station. So that's when students go back and look at the next picture card to see where they go. Over time, you will find that they have memorized their center rotation for the day. For my students, it always became part of their morning routine. They would come in, unpack, bring me their binders and agendas, get breakfast, and they're walking by like, what center am I going to today? And they will remember the entire rotation, and they don't need to go back. You'll have some students who will never remember. They will always have to go back to the center rotation chart and refer back to it to see where they go. After they've gotten 2 rotations down, I add a 3rd rotation. So what ends up happening is I put my face there because my teacher table is a center. When they see my picture, they know to come to my table. Now a little disclaimer. In kindergarten, my teacher table is a center. I've also been a looping teacher for the past 5 years. In 1st grade, My teacher table is not a center. So I pull students as I see fit. If I don't need you this go around, you have a center to go to. If I do need you, I just pull you. I found that in first grade I needed to switch up my groups a little bit more often than I did in kindergarten. Now in kindergarten, even though I'm a center, I will switch kids. I will give kids new colors if I need to move them up or down as I see fit. Now, during this time, when they initially come to my table, it's not a whole lesson because students are used to you not being as engaged. They may be calling your name. You know, we're also modeling what to do if you need my attention. But at this point, you're slowly teaching them, hey, Miss Griffith has some friends at the table. I need you to work in your center the entire time. And that's a struggle at first. So at my table, we do some light work. We do a light activity. And then I get up, I'm walking around, I'm praising kids, I'm correcting as necessary, and the group at my table is working on a little bit of an activity. And over time, you will notice that your students are getting better and better at being in center. And you'll find that you won't have to correct as much. So this is how I begin centers in my classroom. Like I said, this can take anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks in the kindergarten classroom. And I know that it seems like a lot of time, and I know that you're kind of chomping at the bit to get to your small group table. Sometimes your district is pushing you to get to the small group table, not understanding that it takes time for kids to develop routines and procedures. But there's a saying, and I heard it my first year of teaching, and it's so true. And the saying goes, you can either do it right or you can do it all year. I choose to do it the right way. That way, my centers run smoothly for the rest of the year. Now, sometimes you have to tweak a few things. You have to correct a few things, especially after Christmas break, because it's like they forget all of the rules. But if I go ahead and set things up the right way, there are some things that I won't have to worry about the rest of the year. So, let me know in the comments below. How are you starting off your centers this year? And what do you want to work on and improve this year for centers? See you guys next time.